Hi, friends. It's Reverend Anna Wiffenden. I'm getting really excited about the Summer Institute and being with all of you this summer in just a few weeks. And I wanted just to share a little bit about what I'm hoping we can explore together in our workshop sessions. Gottfried Arnold has this quote, this is loosely paraphrased, that heretics listen to the Spirit while Orthodox are interested in keeping the institution alive. Now, take it or leave it as far as the critique on the institution, but I'm interested in this idea of heretics being able to listen to the Spirit a little differently. There's some other ideas about how heretics over time are at the edges of a movement. They're at the edges of the church, and the whole church doesn't move over to be where the heretic is, but that over time the church starts to gently turn and mush and move towards where we're being drawn out by some of these other voices that are listening to the Spirit. I see the food and faith movement, and particularly in the work of entrepreneurial ministry around food and faith and ecological well-being, being those heretics in our time. So as the founder of the Garden Church, we took an empty lot in Los Angeles, turned it into an outdoor sanctuary, an urban farm, and experimented with what it meant to be church in that kind of setting outside the brick and mortar walls of the church. I am not an advocate to say everyone needs to do that. My work is not to say that everyone needs to start a garden church and that's the answer to the church. But my work is to ask the questions that led to that experiment and to ask the questions of how, in your setting and in your place, might you be experimenting with what it means to be church in this generation. I think that if we can look at, and we're going to look in our sessions, at some various communities that we might think of a little bit as those heretics, those communities that are doing it kind of differently. They're taking the liturgy and the traditions and the doctrines and the theology that have been well worn over the years and saying, what would it look like to do Eucharist in the middle of the woods? What would it look like to wash feet out on the streets? What would it look like to have a meal that is communal, a church potluck, but that it's also feeding those who wouldn't have dinner otherwise? What would it look like to take these principles, these liturgical pieces that we have done over time, to have prayers of the people in the middle of a neighborhood where the sirens are going by and we have to stop and pray for those who need that fire truck? And so I want to explore, when we look at those communities, maybe it inspires you, us, to create such a community in our particular context. But also, what does it mean for the church as a whole? What does it mean if you're in an established congregation, or if you're a farmer, or if you're working in a nonprofit? What does it mean to listen to those stories, those heretics, if you will, and see where it is that the Spirit might be moving us? So I look forward to exploring these conversations, to hearing your stories, to looking at some of other settings and people who are doing this work, and then to look at some of these liturgical principles that we can see working throughout time and be able to see, what does it mean to be faithful in our generation? What does it mean to be church in different ways in our generation? So we look forward to breaking bread together. I look forward to hearing your stories and to exploring where it is as the Spirit is calling us today.